The ship wasn't special. It was a freight hauler, Class 7, no upgrades. Half its parts were scavenged from other ships that had broken down or been quietly decommissioned after wars no one wanted to remember. It made noise in all the wrong places. Its left thruster shook when it hit orbit curves. Its comms lit up once every 6 days, just enough to prove it was still alive. And inside it? A boy. His name was Cass, 17. Too young to be running cargo lanes solo, too stubborn to stay planetside, too smart to be overlooked, and too lonely to admit it. He worked alone, no AI, no co-pilot, no partner. He had a ship, a schedule, and a bed that smelled like coolant. His only job was to run parts between Terra 5 and the Oran Moons. In and out, no questions, no cargo checks. Keep your head down, don't get noticed. But one night, he heard something move in the engine bay. Not the hiss of steam, not the groan of old metal. A sound, sharp, wet, breathing. He paused, waited, heard it again. A scrape, a low rumble, something soft, but afraid. He grabbed his flashlight, unhooked the panel, shoved aside a pile of junk coils, and found her. Curled up at the heat exhaust chamber, wings folded tight, bleeding from one claw, scales dulled with dust. She blinked once, then tried to crawl backward, but there was nowhere to go. Cass dropped the flashlight, not from fear, from shock, because they didn't exist anymore. Dragons, not since the Drevny collapse, not since the burn. They were hunted, classified, removed from the archive. Every record tagged them as extinct or military error. But this? She was real. "Easy," he said, raising his hands. She growled, not loud, not wild, just tired, like her voice had been trying to stay quiet for too long and forgot what anger even sounded like. He knelt, no sudden movements. She didn't flinch. Her eyes were a soft violet, not like the data files, not like the recon art. Violet like a dusk sky after rain. And they were watching him, measuring. He reached into his side pouch, pulled a ration bar, tore it open. "Here." She didn't move. He set it down, waited. 5 minutes, 10. On the 12th minute, she reached forward, claws shaking, and took it. That was the beginning. He named her Lysa. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the sound she made when he first patched the wound on her claw. Maybe it was what it felt like when she fell asleep, curled beneath the vent pipes, and he sat beside her just to make sure she kept breathing. He didn't tell the outpost, didn't report it, didn't flag her heat signature. He disabled the ship's biosensors, muted the pulse beacon, even rewired the navlog to show false cargo mass. Because if they knew, if anyone knew, they'd take her, or kill her, or worse. They'd put her in a lab and call it science. And Cass had seen what science looked like when it stopped asking why and only asked how much. He wasn't going to let them cut her open just to prove she was a myth. He fed her in secret, rerouted oxygen to the lower decks, built her a nest out of old insulation and thermal lining. She grew slowly, 2 inches, 3. Her eyes grew faster than her body, always watching, always waiting for the day he'd give her away. But he didn't, because Lysa didn't just exist now. She belonged to the ship, to the shadows, to him. She'd started mimicking his whistle, software 2 notes, low and high. He'd hear it when she was hungry, when she wanted him close, when she was scared. And he always came. "It's okay," he'd whisper. "I got you." And one night, when the engine stalled near Saturn's rim and the nav lights blacked out, and Cass thought he might die in cold space, Lysa crawled from the bay and curled around him, kept his body warm until the backup kicked in. She saved him, not with fire, not with teeth. With presence? No one believed in dragons anymore, but they should have believed in Cass, because he never stopped believing in her. Even when the galaxy said she was gone, even when the systems said she wasn't worth saving, he held her, fed her, protected her, and in return, she stayed. 3 weeks passed, 3 systems, 2 near inspections, 1 collision warning that almost forced a full stop. And still, no one knew. Lysa stayed hidden beneath the heat ducts and ration crates, coiled in the shadows where the ship didn't scan. She ate when Cass brought food, drank from the filtered condenser leaks, slept with one wing half unfurled like a baby that hadn't yet learned how to dream safely. He patched her wounds, watched the scar on her leg tighten, watched her scales change. Soft gray-blue now, like starlight before sunrise. Her eyes never left him. She still didn't speak, not in any language he knew. But she listened when he told stories, listened when he played recordings of Earth's oceans, listened when he whispered his fears into the dark because talking to her felt safer than talking to himself. Cass didn't sleep well anymore. Not because of nightmares, because of what might happen if she was found. His docking codes were flagged twice at the Oran checkpoint. They let him through. No questions. But the officer's eyes lingered on the hull, and that was enough to make his pulse spike. He changed course after that. No more direct routes, no more predictable stops. He took jobs out to the drift. Low traffic, low control, risky, empty, safe. Lysa didn't like drift space. She paced more, didn't eat as much. She curled into tighter knots and stared out through the vent slits at stars that looked too far away. Cass adjusted the lighting in her bay, added warmth, looped old Earth wind sounds through the speaker nodes. He even rewired part of the cargo hold so she could stretch her wings when the gravity was off. She loved that. He watched her glide in slow circles. No noise, just a breath of wind where breath shouldn't exist. "You're not meant for cages," he said once. She didn't respond, just floated past him, one claw brushing his shoulder. And that was answer enough. He knew he couldn't keep her forever. Not like this, not in hiding, not in half-shadowed vents. But he didn't know what else to do. If he released her, she'd die. There were no wilds left, no jungles, no mountain skies. The dragons of myth didn't exist anymore, only steel and scan beams and bounty tags, and now her tag would be worth more than any cargo in the drift, because she wasn't just rare. She was impossible. The bounty boards were already lighting up, not for her, not yet, but for unauthorized biosignature activity in Quadrant Delta 17. That was his last jump log. They were coming. They just didn't know what they were chasing yet. He considered running. Full burn, deep space, no beacon, hide forever. But he couldn't, not with a ship this old. Not with a dragon this fragile. So he did the only thing he could. He sent a message, not to the Federation, not to the Hunters, to someone else, a woman named Tasha Rell, exobiologist, former smuggler, one-time rescuer of endangered lunar wolves, and now the operator of a whisper-famous sanctuary station called Miras. No one knew if it still existed. No one knew where it was. But he had to try. He wrote the message by hand, scanned it into his old comm deck, encrypted it with every layer he had left. "I have a life form. She's real. She's not dangerous. She just wants to live, and I'm running out of places to hide. Her name is Lysa. She trusts me. Please, if you're out there, tell me where to bring her." He waited. No reply. 2 days passed. Lisa grew restless. She stopped sleeping near him, started curling tighter again. Her wings fluttered in her sleep like she was dreaming of falling. On the 3rd day, Cass woke to an alert. Low priority. Unlisted. Message fragment. Coordinates. Nothing else. No name. No tags. Just a location. A hope. He didn't think twice. Set course, locked engines, and whispered, "We're going home." Lisa tilted her head like she understood, like she'd been waiting for him to say that all along. The stars stretched wider as they left the mapped systems behind. Navigation grids stopped updating. Comms went quiet. Even the archive node dimmed at the edge of the drift. Out here, there were no laws, no patrols, no one to say what was alive or extinct, just light, silence, and a hope so small Cass didn't know if he was chasing it or if it was chasing him. Lisa was quiet, too. She hadn't eaten since the last jump. Her breathing had changed, slower, deeper, more like a pulse than a rhythm. Cass kept talking to her anyway, told her about Earth, about rivers that hummed beneath trees, about cities where people used to light candles for the things they couldn't say out loud. He told her about books, paper ones, and how dragons had always been in them, but never like her. "They made you monsters," he whispered, "but you're not." She blinked, then leaned her head into his hand. Her scales were warmer than usual, and he knew they didn't have much time left. The message fragment from Miris had no window for entry, no instructions, just coordinates. Locked deep inside an asteroid belt near a cold dwarf star with a gravity field so sharp it bent the ship's readings into static. Cass pushed through it. The ship buckled. The stabilizers screamed. And then they passed through. There was no station, no lights, just a hollow stretch of black where signal didn't echo and light didn't bend. But Lisa stirred, lifted her head, sniffed the air, and then she moved. She jumped from the bay, straight toward a point in space no scanner could read. Cass shouted, but then he saw it, a shimmer, a ripple, a door opening inside nothing, and through it her wings lit gold. She vanished. He froze, heart pounding, hands locked on controls, eyes searching. Then the ship trembled, and something spoke, not with sound, with code, with trust. "Docking lane open. Bring the boy in." Cass followed, still shaking, still unsure if this was a trap or a miracle. And when the shimmer folded again, he saw it. Miris, a station not made of steel, but grown, built from roots and crystal and humming light, like someone had taken the shape of safety and turned it into a world. The landing pad was soft, organic, alive. The first thing he saw when the hatch opened was Lisa, standing, whole, and beside her, a woman with gray hair and eyes that looked like they'd seen every war and chosen to protect peace anyway. "You must be Cass," she said. "She's okay?" "She's with her own." "There are others?" The woman smiled. There were. Now there will be again. Cass looked around. Dragons, 3 of them, small, wary, eyes wide with memory and pain, but alive. And Lisa? She didn't look like a secret anymore. She looked like a beginning. "Why me?" Cass asked. "Why send me coordinates?" "Because you believed," Tasha said, "and belief is the rarest map of all." They let him stay that night, not as a guest, not as a handler, as family. He slept beside the hatchling pool, listened to Lisa hum while she curled with her kind, felt something in his chest that hadn't lived there in years. Not relief, not pride. Peace. And in the morning, Tasha asked him a question. "What do you want now?" He didn't have an answer, because for the first time he didn't need one. He just looked at Lisa and smiled. He had saved her, but now she was saving something far bigger. Hope. The sanctuary didn't feel like a station. It felt like a breath. Every corridor curved like it had grown naturally out of starlight. Walls of living moss and woven crystal. Lighting that pulsed soft gold and green. No doors, just thresholds that opened when you were ready to walk through them. Lisa took to it immediately. She didn't hide anymore, didn't flinch at footsteps, didn't coil when others came near. She flew again, not fast, not far, but free. The other dragons kept their distance at first. One, smaller than her, hissed the first time she tried to share food. Another didn't even look at her as she settled beside the sunrock for warmth. But Lisa didn't push. She waited, patient, quiet. And when she curled into herself that night, Cass stayed close. He didn't need to talk. She already knew. Tasha walked with him that morning, past the biopods, past the starlit garden where newborns slept under flame-resistant trees. She didn't speak until they reached the balcony overlooking the nebula's spine. "You did something rare," she said. "I found her. You didn't turn her in. Didn't even think about it. That's what made you rare." Cass leaned over the rail, watched the dragons rise and fall in the wind current that shouldn't have existed in vacuum, but somehow did here. "So now what?" he asked. "Do I leave? Do you want to?" "I don't know." "Then you already have your answer." The next week passed like something out of a story that no one dared to believe anymore. Cass helped feed the young ones, fixed 3 solar regulators, tuned an old skimmer used to collect drift ice for dragon hydration. He still slept in the ship, still kept the jacket with Lysa's blood on it. Not because he couldn't let go, because some stories don't end just because they found peace. Lysa changed too. She began flying longer, circling the outer dome, then vanishing for hours at a time into the cloud layer that folded around Miris like a soft cocoon. She returned tired, happy. And one night, she brought someone back, a hatchling, tiny, shivering, curled inside the lift well like she had once curled in Cass's engine bay. Tasha scanned it, alive, barely. "Where did she find it?" Cass asked. Tasha didn't answer, just looked at Lisa, who stared back without blinking. A calm, silent answer passed between them. She went looking. They named the hatchling Aaron, and he followed Lisa everywhere, watched her, mimicked her, tried to glide, failed, tried again. Cass saw it happen. That moment, Lisa let Aaron sit beside her and rest his head beneath her wing, and Cass smiled. Because now, she wasn't just safe, she was home. Tasha came to him again 2 days later, this time with a question. "Will you stay? Do you want me to?" "It's not about me." "What's it about?" "The fact that you're the only person in this entire system who ever looked at a dragon and saw someone worth saving." He didn't answer right away. Watched the sky. Watched Lisa and Aaron fly. Watched the nebula ripple like a heartbeat made of light. "I think I was supposed to leave," he said. "But now, I don't know where else I'd even belong." Tasha handed him a loop crystal. No security, no encryption. "That's the map," she said, "to every known dragon sanctuary we've ever hidden or heard rumor of." "Why me?" "Because I'm tired, Cass. Because you're young. Because you care. And because Lisa found you first." That night he sat in the ship, held the crystal, watched Lisa sleep curled around Aaron. He didn't cry, but his hand shook. because the weight of being needed sometimes doesn't hit until you realize you're the one who has to choose to stay. And Cass? He wasn't running anymore. He closed the hatch, sent one message to the drift relay. 5 words. "Cancel cargo. I'm not returning." Then he turned off the nav, pulled off the jacket, and stepped into the garden to watch the stars sing. Not just for dragons, for him, too. It's been 8 years since I hit a dragon in my ship. Longer since I thought of myself as just a boy running parts through forgotten stars, trying not to be seen. Now, I live in a sanctuary carved from moonlight and root. I carry a name that doesn't belong in history books, but when hatchlings speak it, they say it with wonder. Lysa is bigger now. Her wingspan touches the edge of the dome when she glides too low. She leads her own flock. She still hums when the sun sets, still rests near the ship's old hull, even though she doesn't need it anymore. Even though I left it parked in the outer grove to be reclaimed by flowers and fireflies and time. Some nights she curls beneath the old stabilizer pod just to remember. Not because she misses being small, but because she remembers being safe. We built homes for them, not cages, not domes. Homes, places where memory wasn't measured in scans, but in silence shared beneath sky roots and meteor bloom. Places where fear no longer translated into stillness, where breathing wasn't proof of survival. It was music. Aaron is grown now, too. Taller than her, clumsier. His left wing still folds funny when he sleeps. But he follows her without question, calls her with a high, sharp whistle that only she answers. And me? I sit on the ledge and watch them fly. I'm not a hero. I'm not a myth. I'm not the boy who saved a dragon. I'm just the one who listened when no one else remembered how. We found 4 more sanctuaries, 2 of them empty, 1 destroyed. But the 5th held 3 eggs buried beneath frost, wrapped in flame root and feather fern. We brought them home. They hatched last cycle. They scream like thunder and eat like wildfire and sleep like poems. And they love Lysa like she's always been theirs. I think maybe she has. Tasha retired last year, handed me the core beacon, said the archive's pulse is strongest when it beats from belief. And I still believe. In dragons. In silence. In slow, careful trust that doesn't need proof to be real. Loom visits sometimes. She tells the hatchlings the story of how the archive learned to dream. They don't understand it all, but they sit quietly because they feel her voice, because they know stories are the roots of everything worth keeping. And when she leaves, she always hugs Lysa, then looks at me. "You didn't save her," she always says. "She saved us." And maybe that's true. Maybe that's what dragons are meant for. Not fire, not flight, but for holding space between fear and freedom, between ending and beginning. I don't fly anymore, not often. The stars belong to the young now. But I keep the ship's comm on in case someone like me calls from the edge of nowhere with something they're afraid to protect, because the world says it's too dangerous, too illegal, too impossible to keep. And when that call comes, I'll answer. Because I remember what it felt like to sit in a dark engine bay with a bleeding creature who could have destroyed me, but instead curled closer just to feel my breath and know she wasn't alone. Her name is Lysa. She was never a myth. She was a gift, and when they ask me what I did with my life, I'll say, I held the light long enough for her to fly through it, and I'll never stop watching the sky, because she's out there, because she still remembers, because she always comes home.